Liverpool's new Alexander Isak bid revealed as Newcastle brace themselves for £130 million plus offer for striker. Liverpool are preparing a bid worth over £130 million, $175 million, for Alexander Isak as they attempt to finally sign the Newcastle striker this summer. Liverpool have been chasing Isak all summer, have had one bid rejected by Newcastle, readying another British record offer. Recommended external content video. We need your consent to show you content our editorial team embedded from video. You can toggle this and all other embeds from video across goal.com on with one click only and deactivate as well. Always display video content. I confirm that I would like to see external content. Personal identifiable data could be transferred to third parties. What happened? Report per Football. Liverpool are preparing a bid worth in excess of £130 million for Isak, with the package potentially reaching £140 million, $188 million, when add-ons are included. Newcastle remain insistent that they will not sell Isak and have consistently demanded a fee worth £150 million. But the Reds are adamant they will not go that high. The bigger picture. Isak remains keen to move to Liverpool and has told Newcastle that he wants to make the switch to Anfield before the transfer deadline next week. Newcastle are steadfast in their refusal to accept bids below their valuation, and they are also busy working on potential arrivals themselves. After seeing a £50 million, $67 million, offer rejected for Wolves' Jacob Strand-Larsen, they are also interested in Yoane Wissa at Brentford. Did you know? Isak has not played for Newcastle this season, and the club are braced for Liverpool to up their offer. It is unclear if a new bid that remains below their £150 million asking price will be considered, however. What next? Newcastle play Leeds United on Saturday while Liverpool play Arsenal. The transfer window closes next week. Whether Isak remains on Tyneside will be a major story of the final week of the market. Man City star could be key to Liverpool signing Marc Guéhi as Reds get transfer boost. The Reds still hope to sign Guéhi in the final week of the transfer window and will be encouraged that Crystal Palace is monitoring the market for centre-back options. Liverpool's hopes of signing Marc Guéhi have taken a boost with Crystal Palace keen on Manchester City's Manuel Akanji. Liverpool's hopes of signing Marc Guéhi in the final week of the transfer window have been handed a significant boost with Crystal Palace expressing its interest in Manchester City defender Manuel Akanji. The Swiss international was left out of City's squad to face Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday and has been linked with an exit in recent weeks. Reports have also claimed Akanji is a target for Bayer Leverkusen and Galatasaray. But Liverpool will be hoping Palace wins the race to sign the centre-back, who has spent 3 years at the Etihad. It could hasten a potential exit for Guéhi, with the Eagles willing to sell the England international at the right price. Despite signing Giovanni Leone, Liverpool is still hopeful of acquiring Guéhi before the window shuts on September 1st, while the high-profile Alexander Isak saga will also have a conclusion in the next 7 days. Unlike the Newcastle United forward, Guéhi has continued representing Palace in the early weeks of the new campaign and has played every minute of the club's 4 games so far this season. It's understood the centre-back does not plan to sign an extension on his current Palace contract, which expires at the end of the season. Reports have also indicated that he is keen on a move to Anfield. Guéhi remains a Liverpool target in the final week of the window. City were linked with the player over the weekend, but Liverpool.com understands the Blues do not plan to make any approach at this stage. Therefore, Palace's interest in Akanji could offer a telling insight into Guéhi's next steps. I am worried about Crystal Palace if we are losing players and we don't get the right ones in, admitted head coach Oliver Glasner last week. It is my duty as manager to tell the owners what we have to do to be competitive and stay on our pathway. We are very, very late to find replacements, said Glasner. I think we could have behaved much better than we did. It's not the best way to start the season. I think we are below the edge. Konet has struggled in the early weeks of the season. The desire to bring in Guéhi has been heightened by Ibrahima Konaté's disappointing performances in the early weeks of the season. The ex-RB Leipzig star was at fault for a goal in each of the Reds' opening Premier League fixtures and earned criticism from Jamie Carragher in his post-match assessment of the 3-2 win over Newcastle United. Guehi, who came through the ranks at Chelsea before joining Palace in 2021, has established himself as an England regular and has been named in 5 of the last 6 international squads, although he missed June's fixtures through injury. Rio Ngumoha has already made Arne Slot change his plan as new Liverpool reality clear. Rio Ngumoha was the hero for Liverpool against Newcastle in dramatic fashion. He is not so much knocking on Arne Slot's door as he is hammering it down. Rio Ngumoha of Liverpool celebrates scoring the winner against Newcastle. Arne Slot clearly loves Rio Ngumoha, but even though his manager has repeatedly sung his praises, the precocious teenager is still finding ways to surpass expectations. The 16-year-old was one of the standout stars of preseason, but come the Bournemouth match, Ngumoha was left on the bench even as Liverpool had to dig in to salvage a late win. Tempering expectations, Slot tacitly conceded that he was reluctant to turn to someone so young to try and turn the tide. Federico Chiesa was the hero that day instead, and the Premier League opener concluded with a sense that perhaps Liverpool might still need to use the market to find a Luis Diaz replacement. Fast forward a week, and a sense persists that Liverpool may be one forward light, especially as the Alexander Isak saga drags on. But Ngumoha could not be doing any more to convince Slot that he needs a clear pathway to the first team. This time around, Slot did give him a chance to influence proceedings, albeit only in the last scraps of added time against Newcastle. At the point when Ngumoha came on, Liverpool found itself strangely under the cosh from the 10-man Magpies, and a draw was starting to look more appealing. But even before his dramatic late moment, Ngumoha turned the tide. His fearlessness on the ball got Liverpool back up the pitch, relieving some of the pressure that had been building. And then came his headline contribution, showing awareness beyond his years to arrive at the back post at the perfect time. He then produced a ridiculously cool first-time finish beyond Nick Pope to send the away fans into raptures. By leaving him out against Bournemouth, perhaps Slot was on some level trying to contain the hype, to manage expectations, but the cat is firmly out of the bag. This is a hugely exciting talent who is already at a level where he can mix it with the best. In that sense, Ngumoha is effectively forcing Slot to change the plan. What might have been earmarked as a season of very gradual exposure to the first team is now a campaign where the teenager has a case to be included week in, week out. Rio Ngumoha of Liverpool applauds the fans at full-time following the team's victory in the Premier League match between Newcastle United and Liverpool at St James's Park on August 25, 2025 in Newcastle upon Tyne, England. Calls to start would probably be a touch premature, although a few more late contributions like that will certainly attract such shouts. But at the very least, there would be a strong case to utilize Ngumoha's fresh legs off the bench more often than not. It was great that he could secure the points against Newcastle, but he would have been every bit as useful coming on at 2-0 up. Perhaps Liverpool would not have found itself so penned in if he had been there as an outlet, tying opposing fullbacks in knots and making a nuisance of himself. Heck, he has now stood up and proved himself across a consistent run of games in preseason and shown that the impact can translate to competitive fixtures. The only thing holding Slot back from using his more would be his age. But is that a good enough reason? It's looking like a weaker and weaker case. There's no suggestion that Slot has got anything wrong up to this point. He is keenly aware that he is dealing with someone who still has a lot of physical and emotional maturing to do, and that comes with a need for added caution. But from a footballing standpoint, there can be little doubt now. Ngumoha is ready. Liverpool should scrap Alexander Isak transfer with new priority crystal clear. The Reds need to get a huge deal over the line this week, but not one that involved the Newcastle striker. Alexander Isak remains in limbo at Newcastle. 'Tis the transfer saga that won't go away. With little over a week of the summer transfer window left, Alexander Isak continues to be in exile at Newcastle as he waits for Liverpool to bid the £150 million the club wants to let him go. In the meantime, the 25-year-old is training alone and no doubt anxiously counting down to the 7 p.m. deadline on September 1st. However, it shouldn't just be the British record transfer demand putting the Premier League champions off from making their move. What's more imperative is that right now, there's another target that Liverpool should be pursuing while dropping their interest in the Swedish striker. The notion that Arne Slot needs a clinical number 9 is questionable. Last season, with Darwin Núñez confined to a bit-part role before his move to Saudi Arabia, his side stormed to the title without a central target man. The movement of Mohamed Salah, Cody Gakpo, and now Hugo Ekitike is a potent feature of Liverpool's attacking play. Isak would undoubtedly add finishing prowess, but his presence would also restrict the movement that Salah and co specialize in. Instead, Liverpool should leave the Isak deal alone and go all out for Marc Guéhi. The necessity for a new center back at Anfield far outweighs the need to boost their forward power further. With just a year left on his current deal, Guéhi would cost considerably less than the extortionate fee Newcastle are demanding for Isak. The ongoing saga of Ibrahima Konaté's new deal, let alone the man's early season form, suggests the Reds should meet whatever Crystal Palace demands. Marc Guéhi has just a year left on his Crystal Palace deal. Instead, Liverpool should leave the Isak deal alone and go all out for Marc Guéhi. The necessity for a new center back at Anfield far outweighs the need to boost their forward power further. With just a year left on his current deal, Guéhi would cost considerably less than the extortionate fee Newcastle are demanding for Isak. The ongoing saga of Ibrahima Konaté's new deal, let alone the Frenchman's early season form, suggests the Reds should meet whatever Crystal Palace demands. For all their potency going forward, Liverpool remain vulnerable when teams counterattack. It was a factor that Bournemouth exposed on the opening night of the season, and Paris Saint-Germain even more so in last season's Champions League clash. Liverpool will score goals with or without Alexander Isak, and yet without Guéhi, Slot's side are not the clear title favorites many perceive them to be. FSG still have time to make a major statement this summer. What that statement should be is crystal clear. Man City to hijack Liverpool's key transfer target with Guardiola set to ruffle feathers. Manchester City could reportedly join the race for Crystal Palace's Marc Guéhi if they offload centre-backs Manuel Akanji and Nathan Ake this week. The England defender, 25, is already on the radar of Liverpool, Tottenham, and Barcelona, with only a year left on his contract. According to the Daily Star Sunday, Guéhi is being eyed as a potential £35 million target at the Etihad should Pep Guardiola lose Akanji and Ake from his squad. Galatasaray are keen on Akanji, 30, while Everton have set their sights on Ake, also 30, having already secured Jack Grealish on loan from City. If both players depart before the summer transfer window shuts next week, City's interest in Guéhi could intensify, setting them on a collision course with title rivals Liverpool. Despite Guardiola looking to streamline his squad, the speedy Guéhi is seen as a long-term asset. Prior to Newcastle's £35 million signing of Germany's Malek Thiaw from AC Milan, Guéhi was also on their shortlist. Eddie Howe admits Alexander Isak fears as Newcastle boss threatens Liverpool. Eddie Howe has conceded that replacing Alexander Isak is a near impossible task, but he believes Anthony Gordon could be up to the challenge. The Newcastle manager would have preferred to have Isak available for tomorrow night's match against Liverpool at a packed St. James Park. In an ideal world, he would have liked to have at least one new striker in the Toon squad for the visit of the Premier League champions. Newcastle began their season with a goalless draw at Aston Villa, fueling critics who argue they lack firepower without their Swedish striker. However, if Liverpool underestimate Newcastle's scoring potential, they may be in for a shock. Howe is already seeing promising signs that Gordon can thrive through the middle. "I don't think anyone can fill Alex's boots, and Anthony will know that," said the Newcastle boss. "He's not trying to be Alex. He's got to be himself. If he'd scored at Aston Villa, you'd say, that's the perfect No-9 performance. He had 7 shots in the game, looked threatening, and got a man sent off. He was using his qualities, which are his speed and dribbling skills. Yes, we were missing a goal from the overall performance, but hopefully those will come." While Isak trains alone, Gordon has been undergoing intensive training on what it takes to be a center forward. Howe added, "It's a bit different for him. We're training him there at the moment, and he's beginning to get that rhythm that you need playing in the position and the understanding and tactical knowledge you need because the role is different. But he's an attacker and a very good attacker. The beauty of Anthony when we signed him was that he can play right, left, and potentially down the middle. It's something he has done before, and he's done it for England, so it's not totally new to him. Anthony Gordon will lead Newcastle's attack against Liverpool. The harsh reality, however, is that Gordon hasn't found the back of the net in league action since his strike against Wolves on January 19th, a fifth goal in 6 matches. His sole goal in the 17 fixtures since came against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup. So Newcastle won't possess the same attacking threat they wielded against Liverpool last season, particularly in the cup final when Isak scored what proved to be the decisive goal. What they will boast on Monday, though, is a supremely gifted, committed professional spearheading their attack. 12 months ago, Gordon nearly joined Liverpool during a frantic weekend when Newcastle were compelled to generate millions of pounds to avoid a 10 points deduction due to PSR violations. In the end, it was homegrown talent Elliot Anderson and Yankama Minte who were sold to Nottingham Forest and Brighton respectively, with the Scouser remaining at St. James's Park. The rumors, by his own acknowledgement, impacted him, but Gordon knuckled down, dismissed any notions of a return to Merseyside, and concentrated on the club that pays his salary. If only a certain teammate could mirror his approach,